I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, April the 18th, where we've got a big kill starting for this week. On Tuesday there, quoted 120,000 head, and you don't typically see that. We'd like to see it more, but a lot of times 116 to 118 is something in there, and they don't get it narrowed down too tight on a daily kill. But if we can see that consistently being a big harvest every day this week, and then hopefully can have a big Saturday, you know, we may be pushing up 620 or better, and that would be good. That's always a positive sign. Keep those chain speeds built up and work through these numbers that are fairly tight right now. But as we work into these heavier supplies of market ready cattle, we need to keep that slaughter ramped up, and these packers are starting to move a lot of this meat. Had a big movement there last week on their box beef cutouts, and also noted that they had a lot of sales out front. And typically you see that this time of year as your end users, your retailers are getting ready for grilling holidays and things like that, and they like to kind of know where they're at, so they buy out front sales there. And then that's always a great thing, because then those packers know that they need to keep their kill up to a certain level to fill those orders and still keep spot product available. If you look at the board on Tuesday, June live cattle up 72 cents to end the day at 104.90. Now you look at the big gap between the June and your spot April, which it's up 90 cents because it's got to. It's running behind your cash fat cattle market, and we may gain some ground again here this week. But up 90 on your April to end at 118.05. That's more than a $13 gap in those two traded contracts. One, your spot, which is already halfway through the month of April, and then June. And that's whenever those cattle are supposed to show up. And I'll say it again, whenever the supplies do get heavier than the demand, these packers will take it back in big hunks. And $13 sounds like a lot right now, but you know, that they can maybe gain that in 2 weeks, because it's not unlike them to grab $6 or $7 at a time whenever we get in a real bearish market. But for right now, we're still doing okay. Look at the May feeder cattle, down 12 cents on Tuesday to end the day at 140.25. April was down 50 cents at 138.72, and it's running in there real tight where those index levels are at for the cash settlement. Of course, we haven't seen any trade so far this week on fats, but you know, especially with this board hanging up here like that, and the numbers are really tight, especially in the northern plains, we may be able to gain another couple of dollars this week. And I know there's a lot of cattle coming down the pike, but they're not here yet. And these packers are running pretty tight, and they're trying to ramp up their kills. They're making a lot of money, so they want to keep things rolling. They sure don't want to get behind on their supplies going to their customers. But we're hoping to keep things steady to better this week. We have no indication yet on any trade. We'll have some of that this morning here on Wednesday. The Fed Cattle Exchange has got 3,200 head on offer. Another big offering there, but similar to last week, which is probably the same cattle. They've got over 3,000 head on there from Nebraska, and most of them all from one family feedlot there, and hope they can get them sold this week. That you're going to have to watch that if you want to see what the market is. They're not posting those prices up there and leaving them like before, and maybe they're hoping that will entice the packers a little more if they don't give out the information on particular pins there. But they will give the weighted average on the whole lump of the sale, but didn't post the prices on each individual pin last week, and that's probably a new policy there. But you look at what's been going on around the circuit here over the weekend, and I talked on our earlier visit that they were taking inventory of all the damage from the storms. We've got some more storms scheduled to come through the Midwest again. You know, Nebraska took such a brunt of it here late this last week and over the weekend. There's some more storms that are scheduled to come through. I think they're going to be kind of fast moving deals, but and it doesn't stay as bitterly cold as it would in your winter months, but still they can't stand much more of blizzards and snowstorms coming through there. You're seeing more indication of the devastation that the fires have brought through parts of Oklahoma and Kansas, and we've seen that, and nothing makes you more sick than seeing a bunch of cattle that were cornered up in a pasture or in a spot where they were trying to get away from that fire and they burn up. I mean, it just, you know, people that you know, ramrod cattle for a living, it'll bring tears to their eyes because, you know, the people that raise these cattle, a lot of these animal rights people think that they don't like cattle. Nobody loves cattle more than a cattle producer or a cow-calf man or a backgrounder. They love to make cattle happy. When they're happy, they're doing good, they're feeling good, they're healthy, they're gaining weight, they're making money. And if you didn't have a love for cattle, I guarantee you wouldn't be in the business of raising them. But look at your market on those feeder cattle. On Tuesday, your real-time index late in the day on Tuesday was sitting at 138.55 based on the 800-pound steer, which was up another 16 cents. So doing pretty well. Didn't have a lot of big yearling sales, but had some good stocker and calf sales on Tuesday. Ozarks Regional Stockyards, West Plains, Missouri had 2,800 head. Calves there selling steady to $5 higher. Did not have a good test on the yearlings, but I saw a couple of quotes that were very impressive. OKC West in El Reno, Oklahoma had 2,000 head for their calf sale. Quoted steer calves $4 to $6 higher, heifer calves $2 to $4 higher. We're hoping that we may get a rain late this week or this weekend through parts of the southern plains, and I know everybody around here in the Texas Panhandle is sure got their fingers crossed for that, and it would be great. But some individual quotes that were very impressive on Tuesday. Imperial, Nebraska Imperial Auction Market sold 101 head of steer calves, weighed 457 at $209.50 on Tuesday. Riverton Livestock in Riverton, Wyoming had a great sale on Tuesday. The market reporter there quoted their cattle $7 to $10 higher and spots $15 higher than the previous sale. 68 head of 656-pound steers in Riverton bring $176.50. Bluegrass Stockyards, Lexington, Kentucky. It's getting the time of year where the cattle don't have to have a lot of hair, and it's opening them up to go into the Midwest, into the northern plains. Just a lot more feedlot demand in there, and they got as good as cattle as anywhere. And they had a load of 834-pound steers bright and early this morning on Tuesday at 140.5. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.